So, Sam,
Can we-
so sorry for the delay.
It's fine.
Bless you for your patience. And I'm so happy you're here today because this is a conversation we haven't had today.
Yes.
We haven't had this subject yet, and it was an important one. So when you
Very
messaged me, I was like, yes, we need to have this conversation, and it's really important. So first, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm Sam. I'm a mum of hundreds of children, and
How many have you got?
I've got 6.
Yeah.
2 are adult, 4 are school age, and I've got a grandson and a granddaughter
Yeah,
imminently.
yeah,
I'm
I was gonna
actually
say,
on call. Yes.
Legend.
And I've recently changed jobs. I trained through my church as a budgeting coach, and then as a debt advisor, and now that is what I do.
Yeah.
Debt advice.
So we wanted to talk about financial literacy. And before we talk about some principles for us to discuss that are useful, are you happy to share why you care so much about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I spent most of my life juggling debt, really, but a few years ago there's a lot of layers to it. The nub of it really is I was in a really abusive relationship and I was drowning in debt, crippled by debt, and to the point where you didn't want to answer the door, you didn't want to open your curtains, you didn't want to open your post. I had bags and bags and boxes of posts, and I knew it was just getting worse all the time, but I didn't know how to deal with it. And shortly before I managed to get out of the relationship I was in, I started addressing the debt and I got myself in a debt solution, but debt was still accumulating outside of that. So when I was then on my own, I thought, well, it's just me, and I've got 4 young people here relying on me. I can't live like this. I don't want to keep living like this. So I need to do something about it. So that's what I did. And I didn't know what help was out there. I years ago tried the Citizens Advice Bureau, and they said, if you don't come back to us, you can never come again. So I didn't want to go back there. And so I did it by myself. I got myself out of debt. I learned how to budget, and I budget hard, and literally turned my life around in financially.
Incredible.
Yeah,
So lived experience.
absolutely.
And how important is that in now when you talk to other people? That lived experience, how is important? One from a human aspect in terms of empathy and how you can empathise with someone else in that situation, and then secondly, just generally trust.
I
From the other side, if that makes
always
sense.
tell them, so I'll listen to someone's story when I meet them. So I'm part of a project that's funded by the Trussell Trust at the moment. I'm working in the food bank, so I'm meeting people on the front line. It's not just
Amazing.
people that are coming through referrals. And so I'll listen to their story and what they've got to say, and then I'll always go, yeah, I know, I've been there. And I'll just detail a few of the behaviours that come with being in that situation so that they can see that I recognise that. And and it does make a difference. I've been told it makes me easy to talk to. So
Can you feel them relax? Can you see them relax as they understand that you've been through the same?
yeah, I think so. But I think just the very fact that they've told you in the first place that they've got a problem and they need help is enough. You can
Ready.
almost see them go and take a breath. Just offloading that, because what I always say to them is, I'll take your post, I'll open your post. You don't need to do that. I will get in touch with your creditors. I can do this. We can do all of that for you. The only thing you need to do is engage with us. Just communicate, answer the emails, answer the phone, and come to the meetings. And we can do all this for you, and we can help you find a solution. Different solutions for different people because there's different criteria. But actually, as well, beyond the debt solution, we've got a real heart to try and break that cycle, because often it is cyclical.
Yep.
Or it's a generational thing that you see behaviours passed down from parents and grandparents. So we want to help educate people on and give them better skills for much better money management and planning ahead.
So there's a touches a bit deep for me this time around this conversation because recently, and I'll be honest, I'll be completely honest here, I've not engaged with this person that I know is in that kind of situation because I don't know how to, because they're not ready to say that. They're not ready to say, "Can you help me, please?"
Okay.
Unless they are like in major problem, and then they go to the point. They go major problem. It stacks up, and it's not always legitimate debt. And then they go into crisis, and then someone bails them out, and then they go back in the same cycle, and it keeps going round, and it keeps going round. Obviously, there's a financial literacy conversation there around education, but from a friend's point of view, just as a friend, not you, who's a superwoman, because you are a superwoman, because I've got someone that we're trying to sort them out, aren't we? We're going to sort him out.
I've had a conversation.
Oh, good, well done. I go. You need a bit of Sam, because everyone needs that. We had Kevin Hull on at lunchtime, and his whole thing is having the box. This just put like that post thing. This is the box. Put all your stuff in here, and don't worry, it's going to be Kev's problem. Yeah. And you've got a Sam box. Where you say, put your stuff in there, and don't worry about it. I'm going to deal with that. There's a huge thing about that. But as a friend, as someone just who wants to help a friend out, have you got any lived experience or advice around how could you have been helped by one of your friends when you were in that situation?
I was helped by a friend, but I chose a friend who I knew had similar issues or had similar issues, someone who I trusted, someone who I didn't need to feel ashamed, embarrassed about the situation with, because often I know from my own experience and from talking to clients that they'll tell you so much, but they won't always tell you everything. So I chose someone like that, and I said to her, "I need your help." And she came round and we sat with all my boxes and bags of post, and between us we opened it and went through it.
Stop slouching
Sorry, man.
Alice is
I'm getting told off by Christine. Sorry. That's some great advice, and so you've got that lived experience. Do you remember Darren? Reminds me of a conversation with Darren.
Darren is incredible. He's the most impressive
Darren
person I've met this year as well.
It's just that lived experience piece.
Yeah.
It's something that comes to mind.
It just adds legitimacy, doesn't it? It really does to your story as well. Are you finding now, we talked about in the green room a bit about this, how bad is the debt problem now? It's getting worse, isn't it, because of the current financial crisis?
Mm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. A lot of people that I'm seeing aren't even necessarily in debt. They're just not managing to cope with the cost of living. So we'll see people who aren't necessarily in debt, but daren't turn the heating on. They're washing in cold water. And these are people that have worked for years and years and years and working full-time hours. And there are lots of elements to it. That in terms of debt, we were expecting to see an increase after Christmas, but literally last week that spiked, and all of us advisors worked more than double our hours. All of us.
Shit.
Yeah.
I think there's a tsunami coming, isn't it? It's going to be really, really difficult.
Absolutely. People, they're not hanging around. They're coming for them.
So that gives us that perfect way to segue into fundamentally what's right. Firstly, I don't think we're in the right place. Community is the answer to everything.
Yes.
So first and foremost, we need to have that courage to support each other.
Yes.
Even if you're going through it as well.
Yeah.
So that shared experience. But the second thing that we need to talk about then is education.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
So what do we need to be doing? And I'm not talking about education in academic education, because we all know they don't do that bit for us. As a community, what do you think are fundamentally? I hate these kind of. What are the top 3 things that people should do in finance? But do you have any kind of go-tos when you talk about, like we had Lara on this morning? Lara,
we did.
She's one of our advisors.
Is she
who
really?
left this wonderful sign up from Greta for everyone to look at on the way in.
Yeah, she's one of our advisors.
Which was fantastic. And you were like, well, how can I help save the world? And he was like, don't burn stuff. And I was like, just remember, just don't burn stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have anything like that from a finance?
Communication.
Yeah.
Communication. If come to us for help. So I'm going to give you our information.
Yeah, please do.
We are a local charity.
and
We are a
someone-
free service. We're We're a confidential service, and we're completely without judgment. Currently, we work under the banner of Loves Farm Community Money Advice, under the Loves Farm Church. But we have just created a new charity, and we're in the process of moving our FCA regulation over, and we're going to be MAST, Money Advice St. Neots.
Wonder what that standing for, because it was a new email address. I was like, that
Money
sounds really
Advice
cool.
St. Neots.
Good
It's
brand, isn't it?
That's
help
fantastic,
at
yeah.
mast.support. If
Help at
anyone
mast.
needs help,
Can someone put that in the chat, please?
So I'm going to apologise for having to go out. BBC Three Counties Radio.
Oh, well done.
Did a follow up.
I bet that was sounding good.
But I can't tell you how important what you're doing is.
yeah.
Is this a conversation at your meetings?
What,
Do you talk about
financials?
money? Because
Yes.
there are also like things that we have issues with, we don't talk about.
No.
So sex, mental health,
Yeah.
money, relationships, they're general politics, they're the things that we have problems with in our life,
Yeah.
stresses.
And
We don't
mental
talk about it.
health
Yeah.
is the impact of debt on mental health is huge. I know, I said to you in the green room, when I was at my worst point, I could get up and take my kids to school and pick them up and feed them. But other than that, I was just shutting myself away. And the space I was shutting myself into was getting smaller and smaller
Yeah.
and smaller and smaller. I didn't want to open curtains, didn't want to talk to anyone, didn't want to see anyone. But outside of the home, if I was taking the kids to school, no one would have known there was a problem.
Because I work within the NHS through Mind, BMLK Mind, and when I speak to somebody who is going through mental health problems at the moment, we do an initial assessment called a Dialogue Plus, and it's a rating system of 1 to 7. So for 1, it's very dissatisfied, and 7 is very satisfied. Yes, it's been a long day. And not one of the questions asks about financial. So it will go about how's your relationship with your partner, how's your relationship with your friends, how's your job situation, how's your medication, how's your dealings with your mental health doctor. But it doesn't say about financial reasons. Now, I actually add that in every time I put it in. So it's not officially on there, but I always ask that question because it's such an important topic in this environment we're in right now. 5 years ago, it was a question that needed to be answered still. Today, it's one of the most important questions to answer.
Absolutely. And I'm surprised, actually, that it's not in there.
And
It's however, we have got Dialogue Plus training on Thursday for Q&A as well, and that's something I will be bringing up again. I've brought it up before. Again, I think it's because it hasn't been changed for a number of years. That's one thing I will, and no matter if it isn't passed over, I will start ask that question because with my role, I have to signpost these people to groups that's going to support them. So for financial situations, I do have to look for, people that are going to help out in financial
now.
problems. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Refer, signpost,
Yeah, I will.
whatever you like, because we're the only face-to-face debt service
Yeah, no, I
in
will.
St. Neots.
It's crazy.
Citizens Advice have only now got one debt advisor. They've just lost one, but that is for the whole of rural CAMS, and it's over the phone. So, although I work with two fantastic ladies from the Citizens
You are
Advice
still just,
in the food bank, they're not debt advisors.
No.
So they now are starting to move all their debt advice clients across to us.
Interesting, because we haven't had a conversation about food here either. I know we're talking about financial here, but again, because of the impact of financial problems is the impact to food as well, and that's massive.
Yeah, I think and some of these things as well, it's like, it does come back down to, I wasn't going to go down there, but it does come back down to education. And, I was in so we do something with one of our key sponsors and CSR partners for Inspired to Ignite is Fortis, brilliant accountants firm, massive, lovely people. And we go into schools and we do how to make money and how to manage money. They do how to manage money, we do how to make money. So we do the entrepreneur piece, which is all
Yeah.
exciting and manage. Anyway, we were in, I won't name the school, but we were in probably one of the best sixth forms in Cambridgeshire with year 12s, right? So these kids are ready to go to work. They're working, probably. And we asked the question, Carly wanted to ask the question, how many of them, out of 150, 160 people, how many of them knew how to budget? 5%.
Wow.
5%. Sam then asked, our curious Sam, because that's what he does, very curious about goals and life, because goals are also important, both in financial
Absolutely.
and in life. How many of you know how to set goals for yourself in life and everyone else? 10%. So if it's not being taught there, You know, someone just put on here. I think it was Fiona. You know, I think the education curriculum needs to
agree.
build management and how to formulate a spreadsheet, incomings and
Yeah.
outgoings.
Well, as long as I can do trigonometry and algebra, then that's all right, isn't it? That's the truth, isn't it?
And that's going to be taught when you're age 18 in the final year.
It's
maths.
a conversation that I've had actually with Dave Duker,
Yeah.
because he has a project going into the
The
schools,
citizens,
and he wants to expand that, and it's something I feel really passionate about. We never learnt it at school. Our children still aren't being taught these key skills at school,
Agree.
and it's so important.
I budgeted. I've had a spreadsheet, no matter where I've been since I was about 19. I started really earning a bit of money, so I had to go. Hang on a minute, this is how much I've got. I need to budget. You know, at that point, I was going out clubbing every week, so I went right for this week. Well, no, but it's true.
You still.
I'm 42. What do you think? I'm a father of three with a wife. No.
But the irony of all of this is, right, and this is the crazy thing. So we get both spectrums of young people coming to us now. You know, we're getting lots of referrals, and it's great. We'll open the door to any youngster, as you know. And the best ones at budgeting, the best young people at budgeting, are those that come from really tough backgrounds, that are on their own. So they come out of social. If you're living in Paynes Mill, and you're trying, you've got to live on 40 quid a month. You've got 10 quid a week and you've had to convert your kettle into a boiler so you can make hot dogs in it. That's the life that they're living.
Yeah.
Because they can't earn money because they take 65% of it. Give him money, and they won't spank it. Because they got that. You shouldn't have to go through that to learn how to budget.
No.
That's how you're forced into budgeting.
Yeah.
Whereas you've got, you know, and I don't mind, Rico won't mind me saying, you know, he was on at 2 a.m. 2 a.m. we were having this conversation.
Yeah.
Spanks it. Like, because he can earn 10 grand. He literally earns like 10 grand a month because he's just got this brain that just Web3's
He
like
needs to
his
teach
world.
me a few things. He
He's
does.
a nutter. But he just spanks it. Awful at budgeting. So you got like, it's just weird. It's basic, really, the basics of it. It's more of an emotional problem maybe than anything else.
Do you think that people have, because we live in a world of easy credit, don't we, as well? It's never been so
Yeah.
easy to get.
Oh,
So
yeah,
people have forgotten
absolutely.
the joy of saving up.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
really is a joy, isn't it? Because I check
Yeah.
my spreadsheet every day, see whatever I've managed to save my
Klarna,
little
mate.
bank account. Exactly.
Klarna.
That-
Putting a jumper for 30 quid on Klarna.
And
Come on.
anything, yeah.
Why would you need to do
No.
that? Well, some might, I don't know. But
When I got debt free, almost immediately that I was debt free, I started to get bombarded by texts and emails from easy credit companies, but ones that are going to charge you the most
Yeah.
for that. And then, like the Provident, when they used to do their doorstep loans, you'd get your doorstep loan, and then when you were nearly at the end, they'd go, "Well, you can have another one now,"
Yeah.
and they'd offer you a bit more. And that really,
The big banks still do that now.
and,
loans.
and the people who struggle the most are the ones who are targeted the hardest, and they're more likely to take it up, and that is a massive
how do we protect
issue.
those people?
I don't know.
you can't.
It's something we talk about often. I don't know.
You can't because
Can't,
the people.
because they've got to
someone's
have
got
the
to-
will to
some-
say no.
Someone's got to swim up river. I get it. What you're doing is bloody phenomenal.
Yeah.
And exactly
Absolutely.
what's
Couldn't
needed,
agree
and we
more.
need 10 of you
Yeah.
to deal with the challenge at least.
But 8 years ago, had someone come and
That's what I'm
made
saying.
it
That's
easy
what I'm
for
saying.
me.
Who can swim up the river?
So now I plan ahead. So it's the first thing I do every day, like you, Stephen. It's the last thing I do every night is I work on my budget and I check my accounts and I check everything. And my new addiction and my new obsession is saving. I've got loads of different pots and loads of different accounts. So when I get paid, all my money is distributed among those accounts. So I think I have about £7 disposable income at the end of the month. But that's okay because I know I've put money away for my car, for my kids' football subs, for guides, for holidays, for pocket
I bet
money.
you sleep so well knowing that.
Yes, I do. And it takes discipline. The first few months of doing it took a lot of discipline, but then I really, really quickly started to see how that started to work for itself, and I could sleep easily and not worry.
What scares me sometimes is that to boost your credit rating, you've got to do certain things. My credit rating is not too bad at all, apart from one thing, and it's lower because I've never had a credit card. And I'm thinking, why am I getting criticised?
If you have credit and low utilisation of your credit, that improves your credit score. So I got a credit card
20%, right?
last year, less than 25%. I got a credit card last year for exactly that reason. I might put 10 or 20 quid on it, but I pay it off at
okay.
the end of the
To
month.
fuel and yeah.
But it's purely to get my credit rating up.
Yeah.
And I hit, about a month before Christmas, I hit excellent on my credit
Excellent.
rating.
It's amazing. That's an amazing achievement.
It is,
Yeah,
considering
really
where
is.
you
I was
were.
quite proud, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's actually a lot of there's a lot of there's a lot of metrics in. So with financial, so with something what Sam does, when he works with young people, when he's help coaching them over maybe years. Like we had Luke on earlier talking about his his journey and where he's come. That's almost an art form for Luke to get out of the car in town. That you can't measure. That's not a dial with a rating. With finance, if credit score an example, that is a rating, and you can improve it with certain things.
Yeah, definitely.
So are there? So going back to the original question, my fault because I tangent off because I'm losing the plot slowly. What can people do for themselves that are like simple starters to start that journey of discovery around their own financial literacy?
Okay, so if I tried to think about this earlier, what would I say? And I'd say, just because you're in debt doesn't mean you can't start planning ahead now. Treat them as two separate things. So your debt is one issue, and you can deal with that. But outside of that, start to build better habits. Start to plan ahead. Look at what's coming up in the future. I always work at least 2 months ahead of myself. So start putting £3 there, £5 there. Work out what something's going to cost you over the course of a year, and split that down into the increments of whether you're paid monthly or weekly, and start putting it away. And it will look small to start with, but it will grow, and that will pay dividends, because when you get to the end of that year and you can go, oh, that's all right, because I can pay for my MOT and my service because I've already got that money put by. You're not pulling it out of what you should be using to pay your rent or you should be using to pay your mortgage that month. It's done. Deal with it as two separate things.
And you build a habit that way as well, right?
Build good habits.
I always say about meal plans when you're in that stage as well, because we as a family buy food, which sometimes we don't eat.
Yeah.
And
So
then
I
you've got to
monthly shop for that reason.
Yeah.
I monthly shop and I batch cook.
Yeah.
I don't weekly shop.
Sounds like the most organised. Honestly, I
It's-
love
it's
brains
crazy.
like
It's-
yours.
it's
so
amazing,
organised.
yeah.
But it comes. But what's wonderful about it is that it comes from lived experience.
Yes.
It does. And it doesn't
That
matter
drive
how
comes
good
out of
you
it.
are,
Yeah.
you can always be better. There is always room for improvement. So as hard as I budget, I know that I can always change something and make it better.
Okay, so swimming upriver.
Yep.
5 years. Let's say we make a change, one change, and it goes big as you like in terms of the change we make, whether that's in education, whether that's with banking, whether it's any of those things, a big wish list. I've got a magic wand. And you can make one change that in 5 years' time will make a difference to those people 5 years from now. What part of this problem, which is a very complex problem I appreciate, would you change?
I would want to be able to show them somehow in a tangible way that they connect with the difference that making that plan, that planning ahead will do for their lives. If there was a way of doing that, so although I've lived it and I can say I've done it and you can do it too.
Yeah.
If there was a way for them to see that and be able to grab that,
Emotionally connect with it.
yes, that would be it, because all the words in the world, when they go home, they go, oh, yeah, but I really want to spend like 40 quid on this piece of crap I don't need, rather than put that money away.
Goes
Yeah,
away.
that would be, that's what I would like to try and achieve. I don't know how, but that would be.
Well, I think it probably has something to do with stories, and coming on here and talking about it and taking these, and we all of these clips are going to be snipped up.
Yeah,
and
my manager did ask that question.
Feel free to
She
take.
knows she'd be able to watch.
Let's feel free to take it, use it,
absolutely.
use these stories. I think that's part of it, and maybe that is the opportunity as you develop this new trust, or the charity.
Charity.
Where we can find opportunities, and I'm currently just about to set up a collaboration with Crowdfunder UK, which are a massive organisation and want to support things. And actually, they've got a big pot at the moment, not huge, like £1,000 that people, so anyone who's suffering cost of crisis, cost of living crisis, you can access and stuff like that. So
Okay.
there's probably connections we can make that I would love to
Definitely.
do what we can to support you.
Definitely.
Then we do, but it's the stories. You've
Yeah.
got to tell the stories.
Yeah.
The stories, if you want to get someone emotionally, marketing, man. We've got 2 marketing
Absolutely,
people. We're power of stories.
Yeah.
It's all about stories. It really is about stories.
Yeah.
Your stories are really impressive stories.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, you're leading
And
on
if
that.
anyone wants to join us as an advisor, we're always looking for willing
Amazing.
volunteers.
And use that
Yeah.
link you got
Yeah.
So
through.
Ian's put the link on the chat. I can see that.
I like that.
see that.
I have about
Fantastic.
20 pots as well.
Yeah,
But I think- I think-
That's my daughter.
But I like
That's what I
think
meant.
having lots of pots, isn't it? Because if it's one pot, there's always temptation to take it out. But when it's
Absolutely.
lots of difficult to get into pots as well.
Really, well, it's not even about them being difficult to get into. If all your money's in one place, it's really hard to separate it. But so when I get paid, I know that money that I put away that month is towards my haircut, and that's towards the dogs getting a haircut, and that's for the kids' pocket money, and that's for my gas, and that's for my petrol, and that's for my food shopping, and that's for going out. So if I'm going to go out, I'm going to use from that money, and when it's gone, it's gone. I'm not going to dip into any of the other pots.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last question I'll ask you. Sorry.
Leonard's a fiver. No.
You got 5. 12 months from now, you're thanking yourself for the last year. What are you thanking yourself for?
I'm thanking myself because I've watched somebody learn from what I've taught them and grown from it, and they're grateful for it. Not that they're great. That's the wrong word. And they are benefiting from it. That's what I want to see. I want to see just one person change something about their life by improving their financial habits
Love it.
Lovely.
for the better.
Brilliant.
Amazing. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming
No,
on.
Thank you for
absolutely incredible.
having me.
I've left that email address there. So
Fab, thank you.
anyone wants to, when this is snipped out, that email address is there.
Well, let's
Perfect.
hope in 5 years' time you're out of work because we don't need you anymore. That would be a nice situation.
I
Not for
still
you
need to
personally,
earn
yeah.
any
All right.
Yeah, I was
money.
gonna say, yeah.
Still
Forever
got kids
optimist.
to
Come on,
support.
man, you can't be that selfish.
Always be better. Don't you say always be better.
Always be better. Yes.
God bless you. Okay, thank you so much. Now,
Thank you.
10 o'clock. We've got Lisa Fensom next,
Brilliant.
and then we've got Georgie at 10:30.
Georgie's coming on.
Georgie's not coming on, but we're gonna talk about Georgie. We're gonna talk about
Brilliant,
Tourette's anyway.
Because I've been looking forward to hearing about Georgie.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So we got Simon
Thank
shirt.
you. Yeah, Simon
all that
shirt.
stuff.
Do
And
the
See you in a
selfie,
minute.
blah,
all
blah,
right.
blah.
If you
Change
need to
them up,
connect
the colours.
with Sam on any of that, please do reach out.
Yes.
Just reach
Please.
out now,
Yeah.
or tomorrow, first thing.
Well, exactly,
Yeah, no, well, I'm going to London
Well,
tomorrow,
not-
so Wednesday.
all right,
would be good.
Wednesday.
See you
Going
out.
on.
Wednesday afternoon.
Oh, damn right. Yeah, lovely. Right, see you in a moment.